to order at 2:03 on Tuesday, January the 17th. First on the agenda is there's Damon. Never mind. Damon, it's for you. We were just about to look at minutes and approve them. You're muted.
I'd like to make a motion. We approve the minutes.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. So is Shay not here today?
She is stuck on a faculty call and she's going to join us as soon as she can.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, let's get rolling here. The first item will be we approve the minutes, and I guess now we'll move to the financials with Cheryl.
Okay, you should have received massive quantities of paper from Sherry today. I combined the November and December statements into one. Since we didn't meet last month anyway, it was just easier to do this. I'm just going to go over a few things and just open it for questions. The events, income, and expenses always, since we did a whole lot of the concert and all that stuff right after the fiscal year started, we're way off whack on the budget. But the important thing to do is to look at events income, which is 30,000 plus, and the events expense down there under expenses is 31,000. So we are a net negative right there. But you need to look at both of those because we did 3 events for the JCs where we helped them with ticketing. And what that means is basically we allow them to use our website for their ticketing of all 3 of these events. Well, one of them was a turkey sale. Is that an event? I guess it is. Ashley? It is sort of. But what that means is we take the money in and then we have to give it back to them. And so basically that's why these things are so close. Then you include and throw in our concerts, and that's why it's negative. Let me see, the personnel cost, there were 3 payrolls in December and the last one was on the 30th of December. So I did not get the bill from the city for the whole month of December until the first week of January. So that one is not, that's the reason it's a little low. January will end up with 2 payroll payments. So be prepared. The insurance, looks a little high because the city never billed us for the 3rd quarter of last year. So this is the 3rd and the 4th quarter being paid. We pay behind anyway. We should have just paid for the 4th quarter, but they got behind. And along those same lines, they never did invoices for the utilities, which is why that one is blank. They've been going through a bunch of audits and it's kind of crazy up there. And I think they're kind of splitting up duties differently. Buck sends me some things and then Pam sends me things. And then anyway, that's why those are kind of crazy looking. The event expense includes the 3 JC's events, like I talked about. It also includes some expenses for the October concert, as the ticket sales are also in the income. And the truck event that was in September had some delayed expenses that were on credit cards and things like that were not paid until October, but our fiscal year starts October 1st. So those are thrown into this. This events will never be clean because of our October 1st fiscal year. I have a feeling it's just things get delayed. Any questions on that statement?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I also included a cash flow comparison for basically the last 5 years, not including this 3 months, but the last 5 complete years. This kind of looks a little bit like what your P&L is, but I bumped the income and expense to a net for both events and the merchandise sales because those cash flow wise look a lot cleaner when you can see the income and the expense and you can see what the net is on those. I also deleted the depreciation expense. One reason is I have not received the amount for the 21-22 year. The auditor figures all that out, what we're supposed to be doing, and gives it to me, and they have not completed that yet. So it was kind of off whack to have 4 years have the depreciation expense and 1 year not. Plus the fact that depreciation is not really cash flow. It's kind of a, my husband used to call it a fake out expense in his business because it doesn't impact your cash. It impacts your net income, but it does not impact your cash. The reason I started looking at this is we got a notice to renew 2 of our CDs. One was in October and one was in December. And I noticed the rate on the one that renewed at the end of October at Regions Bank was 0.01%. That was the last page that was sent to you. And that is not a typo. It was actually 0.01%, which I kind of thought was ridiculous. And I even called them about it. And they said, oh, yeah, that's what the rate was when it renewed. They're a little different now. They offered that kind of after the fact. But in the meantime, I also called Citizens First, where we have the other CD rolling over. And I checked with Southside Bank, where we have our major checking, and their rates are much higher than that. So I would just like some hand waving by the board that we look into this, and I will be glad to do the footwork on this, but I will need these 2 CDs had Damon, John, me, and Sherry on it. And we can either go with the same 4, we can adjust that, we can only do 2 or 3, whatever is the easiest. The only reason I'm on them is so that they would not even talk to me if I was not on the account. So essentially, I guess some discussion on, do we need to have 4 different banks? Can I go to the ones we already have checking accounts at and kind of consolidate some things? In looking for, some of these are on websites, and in looking for these, I realized that we have enough money in the bank that I'm not so sure that we shouldn't be getting paid some type of interest on our checking accounts. And I want to ask that question also. They offer that in some ways. I just need to make sure there's not a maximum number of checks or something like that will get us in trouble. But I thought I would just go get the bet. And if I can work with just a couple of people, then we can go get this done without having a whole nother meeting. Any ideas? Suggestions?
Direction from the board.
Direction.
Well, I've been on other boards, and I know that years ago, the idea was to spread the love around on the CDs, to have things at different banks. But honestly, with those rates, it doesn't make sense for us to stay with, locked in at 0.01%. That's just bad business. That's not being good stewards.
That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah. So I would say that, and I see Larissa might have some more insight there, but I would say trying to at least, if not try to get to one bank, at least try to do business based on rates, not necessarily trying to spread the love.
And obviously going local first. Regions hasn't been a competitive bank in Nacogdoches for several years since, and Cheryl and I spoke about this earlier. It hasn't been very competitive in years. So I say, the closer to home, the better. The spread around the love. I think that I agree with Shay and that we should pay attention to doing that, but it doesn't need to be the focus. Cheryl, you probably know the best local banks to use so that we can kind of keep the money here locally. Shay, is this something that we need to decide, or should we just tell Cheryl to use her best judgment?
Do y'all mind if I
chime
Yeah,
in.
go ahead, Larissa. I was
I'm
about to call on you and then I can answer that question. Go
I'm
ahead. Larissa.
sorry. I normally am just here to listen to make sure I'm keeping aware of what you guys are talking about. So Nedco has significant reserves in CDs, and we bid those out to local banks twice a year, in January and July each year. We send an email to all of our local banks that have been responsive in the past. And Damon, while I agree with you that Regions hasn't been super active, they've been amazing on their rates, their CD rates. And so what we do is we send out an email, and Cheryl, I'll share a copy of it with you that says, please send us your rates for what they consider jumbo is more than $100,000 and less than jumbo for 30, 60, 90, 6-month and 1 year rates. Please get us your bid back by a certain date. And then we just go with the highest bidder. And it actually does end up spreading the love around to all of the banks in the community. They get real competitive about it.
Well, and I
got
know
some amazing rates. So just, we're happy to share.
thank you. I will use that for sure as a resource. Now we don't have 100,000, so that's part of the. But it's funny. It's funny that you bring that up. When I called Citizens, I actually when I saw this right before Christmas, and I saw that the Citizens one renewed on 12/24. Well, I knew that I could not capture 4 people to go down to the bank the week before Christmas to try to get all this done. I thought, let it roll over. We'll worry about it in January. But when I called them to ask about that one, they had a rate if we had a minimum of 30,000. Well, that one is 22, and getting another 8,000 to bring that one up to 30, the rate went up, and that might be we may need to move things around. So what I may need to do is just crash both of these, put them in the checking account, and then turn around and do the bid like Larissa said, and then maybe just get one and combine them, because I think we'll get a better rate if they're combined.
What do we have total again?
Well, the Citizens one is 22 and the Regions is 33. Well, 22,600 and 33,800, 22,600. But we also have over 62,000 in the Cadence Bank reserve. It's just a savings account, and right now it's only paying 0.25, and we could get higher than that. So it may be using. I don't want to use all of that, because that's where we go pull from. One of the reasons I printed this 5-year history out was to say, how often did we pull from reserves, and do we need to, and how much? And I went back and looked prior to COVID. The city did not give us the hot tax in, well, I don't want to say in a timely manner. It just didn't come as quickly. During COVID, we kind of realized that cash flow was a problem, and they are much better about giving it to us in a monthly, bi-monthly at least, as opposed to waiting 3 or 4 months. And I ran into problems making payroll. And so I would have to go pull it out and then hold it for maybe a week or 2, and then I could put it back. But I was having to do that for cash flow. And I realized that I really haven't done that. We did an 80, if you can see on the very bottom line of that cash flow comparison, I pulled 80,000 out in 18-19. That was mainly due to, if you look at the repairs and improvements, $15,000. I believe that was
VoIP, and our entire phone system went down.
Well, I think it was an air conditioner also. And maybe the flooding in the basement had to be cleaned up. The roof, I don't know. It was a lot.
A couple of years forward.
And then 20,000 the next year was, that was starting out in COVID, and we didn't know where we were going to land, and the hot tax started declining and everything. Now, the next year, the 2021 fiscal year is when the city gave us money. That was the true COVID relief. They got money for payroll and other things, and we had a deal worked out where they paid some of our expenses. So that kind of helped us too. but we have not pulled anything from reserves in over 2 years. So I don't think it's necessary to have a lot unless we want to spend some of those and increase our budget and say, we're going to take 20,000 out. That's a budget decision at budget time, and we're past that for this year. So, we can do that next summer. We can decide that. But if y'all are okay with me, I'll take Larissa's list and just say, we've got this much. What can you do? And then y'all assign me a couple of people and I'll.
That sounds totally reasonable to me if the rest of the board agrees with that plan.
I agree. And, anything you can do to make it one big pile of money or two different piles of money to get us the best rate of return, follow Larissa's template. That sounds like a really good way of handling it.
And Larissa, thank you for offering up that information about how y'all do it. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Anytime. I will warn you, the worst part is getting people in to sign bids or sign CDs. Ron Collins will send us across town to 5 different banks to make us, $10 in interest. So be prepared for that.
Okay.
Well, that's why I said, give me a couple of people and we'll just make the decision. Do
Okay.
it.
Anything else, Cheryl?
I don't have anything else. I'm open to questions if anybody's got any on this or on the statements or whatever. Who do I need? Shay, do you want you and Damon to do it, or somebody else want to do it? Or I know where Damon is. I can always find him.
Yeah, I'm happy for the two of us to do it
Okay.
for right now. That sounds great.
Okay.
All
Sounds good.
right.
I'll head that way.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm sorry I was a little bit late hopping in, but I know you guys got started without me, which I appreciate. We're going to move on to our staff reports, and Sherry.
Hello. Things that are happening right now. Tomorrow, Ashley and I will be leaving to attend the TACVB Midwinter Conference in Plano. We'll be out of the office Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We come back on Friday. So excited. We didn't wind up attending the annual conference due just to travel restrictions and expense. So excited to be back. And this is a master class workshop style conference. And Ashley and I both have signed up to for their new formerly it was TDM credit. They have now changed that over to, I think, DMS, Ashley, something like that. Anyway, it's a new way you attend certain programming, you collect points, and you get certification in those areas. So we're excited about that and just about gathering with our peers and learning from them. Especially from Plano, because they're obviously a larger destination with larger assets and a much larger budget than we have. But if you break it down into types, the different niches of tourism, they greatly excel at sports tourism. And I'm still of the mindset that we can compete on some level, but it's going to take the combined efforts. And I think the people are in place for that, but, Brian and I and whoever else can come to the table to really make us, if Center Texas can play host to Little League World Series events, then you just can't convince me that Nacogdoches couldn't do the same thing eventually. But, certainly there are things that we need to do. So we touched in November on the focus for the CVB moving forward for this fiscal year, and still looking into emphasizing culture and wellness. And that's still very much the plan. Years ago, when Stephanie was still here, we established a downstairs in the basement. We transformed ABS Workshop into a filming station or a filming space where equipment could be left up. And we opened its usage up to the community. And honestly, we used it, but nobody else ever took us up on that offer. We have a great relationship with the Texas Forest Trail region through the Texas Historical Commission. And we have housed, for exchange of our membership to the Forest Trail region, we have housed the executive director for the Forest Trail region. And the current director is Del Polakritis. Former director was Marty Prince, if that jogs your memory. Del had worked out a similar arrangement with Visit Tyler, and due to staff changes there, Visit Tyler was no longer open to letting him office there. So he is moving back and downstairs, and we are joining in with Texas Forest Trail to convert the filming studio into a podcast studio. And again, we'll open it up to anybody that would like to use it. But one of its first usages that I'll be announcing as I start to speak, usually I'm a February speaker for the Rotary Clubs. So it's a micro campaign, but to work in conjunction with large events and anniversaries that are happening in our community, we're going to be recording audio of stories. So very similar to the film, the found footage that was found, it's probably been 10 years ago, but recording stories of Nacogdoches. And, today this sort of hit hard as I saw on Facebook that we lost one of our greats, Leon Hallman, over the weekend, and really are looking at this as an opportunity to capture stories and take some photography of the storytellers so that we can build up some content of the stories that Nacogdoches has to tell. So, for example, to sort of shine a spotlight on Stephen F. Austin and the 100th anniversary, tell us your story about your stories about Stephen F. Austin, or in the early days. We can be very specific. We could go through the decades. There's lots of access points in something like that. Or, share your story about the Christmas parade, or share your story about the fire station, or we could, share your story about the storytellers that are featured in the statue across from the Fredonia. So I'm going to be announcing that, and that's kind of my pet project, because I am so passionate about hearing our stories and preserving them and telling them and passing those along to the younger generation of Nacogdotians, so that they know where they come from. They know not the history with a capital H, but that I seem to find myself in squabbles with people about where does history start. And technically history is just something happened in the past. So Art Walk last year is a part of our history. And if it continues repeating, then it just ingrains itself more in our history. So history doesn't have to be huge historic events. It certainly includes that, but it's also Bob Murphy and Ab Abernathy and all these great storytellers, but also there are access points for everybody in this community. I remember in December when United Way had their car giveaway, and somebody from Cadence Bank, was it? A long-standing bank employee won the car, and for a brief time, conversations that I overheard and conversations on Facebook were all stories centered around that person. And that's, in a nutshell, what makes Nacogdoches different from other destinations. Not that we have people like that in abundance, more so than anybody else, but we take the time to honor them and to honor their stories, and don't just overlook them like, oh yeah, well, everybody's had a grandma, everybody's we place greater value on the stories and how they've shaped where we are today. So that was very long-winded. But that's something else that we're going to be dabbling in partnership with the Forest Trail region. So super excited about that. We're doing job search for the group sales and servicing position. I just extended that job opening for this week. It was set to close last Friday, and we decided to keep it open so that I can do some face-to-face recruitment for that position while I'm in Plano. And but we are firm on starting interviews next week and having a decision made by the end of next week. So far, we've got 8 applicants, and there is one that is heads and shoulders above the others and has a great interest in joining our team. But I am, looking to interview, opening up, at least advertising that job position for others that are late hearing about it or would have some interest. So I feel like we're in a great position. I think either way, we're going to get quality, and we're also going to advance the team at Visit Nacogdoches with somebody that is more tech driven and with, just with a different skill set and different strengths than Joanna brought to the table. Not better or worse, but just different. And that's a good thing to help evolve your team. And then lastly, I had a call today with Threshold 360, which is a company that hosts and accrues 3D virtual walkthroughs of like Napa Valley or Tobacco Warehouse or any of our hotels. So they come in packets of 25 places in your destination to have tours of available online. And then the CVB can host them and embed them on our website. Those actual businesses can use them on their websites. So we are going to be asking for some buy-in. But I have made arrangement in next month's meeting for the board to view probably a 10, 12-minute, really big overview of this funnel of making better usage of the new website that we, are finally into, and building up our value proposition to our community partners for what we can do to help them, and also building up the value proposition for what we can, how we can educate and push information through to our potential visitors, so that group meeting sales can virtually go through Mast Hall and see what's possible. We can build up our wedding business by having that sectioned off. It comes at a great price. It's about $14,000. And as we sunset out Meltwater, that is about $14,000 too. But I just want to open the conversation and check in with y'all. So that's why I made arrangements for Seth Lawson with Threshold 360 to present to y'all on February 21st at our next board meeting. That's really all the news that I know, but I'm open to answer any questions. Oh, and I'm working in tandem with Stephen Kirkland, the city attorney, and city council. I presented at last week's city council meeting, just a workshop item to get city council to provide input on special events permitting. And such as, do they want to move to a fee structure? Right now, special events permits come at no cost, and but those costs are being absorbed by the departments that are required to help pull those off. And there's an ordinance that has not been utilized on qualifiers around closing the events that qualify to shut down Main Street. For example, must have at least 75 plus vendors and a frequency, I think. So we're going to be looking at that and making sure that we are in open communications with the downtown merchants, as well as with the community, and using sort of this organic pause in the conversation centering around special events. We've taken on a new role with special events over the last 2 years, and our events have recovered fully from the pandemic. So, and we've now surpassed it. So we're having more events and more larger events. So I think it's time now for our policy and procedure and our permitting process to catch up to where we truly are now with our events. So now I'm really done.
I don't have a question over what you reported, Sherry, but I do just have a kind of a follow-up question because it came up at a downtown comprehensive plan meeting last week. Are we getting closer on the short-term rental collection and all of that?
Yeah, those letters are going out, and we happen to be seeing a surge in more listings going up. So hopefully we'll get those onboarded and we'll move forward. The matter at hand for this board is to decide if you want to give a grace period to those that have been in operation and haven't signed up to remit the occupancy tax that they are required to. Do you want to collect back taxes owed? How you want to handle any of that. Mario has left that decision to this board to decide, and we just need to, instruct the finance department and work with them on how something like that. But this board needs to decide which side of the fence it stands on.
Maybe we could just get that added to the agenda for an action item for next time.
Done.
Perfect. Any other questions for Sherry before we move on to Ashley? All right. Thank you so much, Sherry. Exciting times. And I know being at Midwinter is going to be great. It's always energizing. So,
yeah.
Okay, Ashley.
Hello. Hope everyone's doing well. We've been really busy up here. I've been fielding a lot of the groups and meetings, calls that would typically go to Joanna. So that's been very fun. But luckily, people have been really understanding in the time that it takes me to get them pricing for the venues and things like that. But it is exciting also to see groups and events coming back because as I've mentioned before, I started in December of 2019, which was right before the pandemic struck. And so it's really cool to see all of these groups showing interest in coming to Nacogdoches. And, there's always, Joanna was always saying this, but there's always a need for more spaces and a more unique, spaces to have their events. And so just keep that in the back of your mind when you're discussing, development and things like that, that there's a major need in Nacogdoches for larger event spaces. If you know of anyone who has a bunch of money in their pocket and wants to make some money. But yes, there's a Model A Club that's coming to Nacogdoches in June of 2024, and they're very eager to make their plans. We've got lots of class reunions coming up. So I'm excited to get that new person hired. So I think I'm excited for us to do those interviews next week and get that person going so we can get back on the show. Food trucks are calling us in droves saying, are you guys doing Next Snack Fridays? Are you doing full moon concerts? And so I'm just kind of like, telling them, hold please, and let me get back to you when we hire someone. But in speaking with Sherry, I think we're going to continue Next Snack Fridays, but only the lunch portion. And the reason for that mainly is we don't want to compete with nightlife in Nacogdoches, like our friends at Fredonia Brewery and our friends at the wineries. Like, there's no need for us to compete. We should be sending them there. But we do want to, kind of bring activity downtown like we were before. And the food trucks came to kind of, I don't want to say rely on it, but they did really appreciate the business. So we're going to continue that on the fourth Friday of every month, but just the lunch run, probably like 11 to 3 o'clock. And we'll put some tables on the back, put some music on the speakers and make it fun, but not have a night portion. And as for full moon concerts, we won't be doing those anymore, at least not in the same capacity. So if you know anyone who's interested in doing a concert like that, we have the model available and we're happy to share that information. But we just don't have the staff or the funds to continue those events out of Visit Nacogdoches. As Sherry mentioned, we can do ticketing through our website. So if you know of anyone having an event that instead of using Eventbrite and getting charged their fees, they can actually go through us. We do still have to charge fees because we're being charged through Sapphire, but it will be less, and also it will be handled directly by me. So if you have issues with the event or anything like that, I can help you directly. So that's going to be a service that we offer. Everyone's picture went away, so I'm a little, can you hear me? Okay, I think I have slow connection, but like everyone went away. So I was like, am I talking to no one? Okay, good. And then just some website stats from the last couple of months. It's always interesting because our demographics have historically been females, affluent, in the retiree age, but it's kind of trending differently lately. As of right now, our demographic on Google Analytics is 54% male. So I thought that was interesting, it's different. Our age is getting younger. 33.5% of our users are in the age range of 25 to 34. And in our interest categories, the most interest that we see is in sports, running, and walking. So when Sherry was talking about the sports tourism and, bringing like Little League and things like that here, I think that's a very viable idea because that seems to be what people are interested in the wellness and getting out and exploring nature. And the best thing about that is it's free and it's open all the time. So I'm definitely excited to promote more of our outdoors this year. And one more interesting fact. So of course, our most viewed, or the country that we get the most views from is the United States, but currently in second place is the Netherlands. So yeah, and literally just, I think it was last week, Mike, we had people in from the Netherlands. So I don't know who's talking to the people over in the Netherlands, but thank you. You're doing a great job. Continue what you're doing and tell your friends in other parts of the world as well. So that concludes my report unless anyone has any questions.
I don't know. I don't speak Dutch, so it's not me, but somebody else.
I don't know what's going on. Like just in, let's see, from December 1st to the 31st, we had 188 people from the Netherlands on our website. So, I mean, that's not a huge number when you consider the other 6,000 were in the United States. But still, it's still impressive that it was number 2 over Canada and the UK. So
Wow.
I've been ordering my eyeliner through the company Swede out of Norway. So
oh yeah,
you're welcome.
Mike just reminded me of one more thing that I forgot. So I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with P.A. Getty. She runs County Line magazine. She's a reporter and creator in East Texas, and she created a book over the summer called The Upper East Side of Texas. And I worked with her and provided some content for Nacogdoches. We did pay to be in the book, but it was I think it was $1,000, which was a great deal because we not only got to be in the book, but we also got to have the cover photo, and that came with some books for us to sell as well. So just wanted to show y'all. This is called The Upper East Side of Texas, and we've got a nice little story in there and some great photos. So if you want that, it makes a great birthday present or Valentine's gift or something like that. And it's here at the Visitor Center for $40. And Mike just ran off, but I'm sure he's excited to give y'all a report if you want to hold just a minute.
We have our hoodie, Ashley, our new hoodie.
I do. I was going to let Mike show it to you, but I'll do it. So over the summer, we had an intern named Bailey Adele. She designed a new t-shirt for us. I think we showed it to you before. It's green and it has a cowboy boot. Well, we liked it so much that we ordered it in a hoodie in beautiful blue colors. Ta-da! It's really soft.
Good. Yeah, that's nice.
That's
I
the
love
Bella Canvas.
Yeah, it's the Bella Canvas, which everybody loves. And it is also, I believe, $40. I'm not lying. It's really like the softest thing I've ever felt. And I want to put it on right now, except it's like 70-something degrees outside.
Just wait this weekend. It will be cool.
Yeah, that's when I'll do like a big blast on Facebook. I'll be
Right.
like, go get your hoodies.
Exactly.
Well,
Thank you for all
okay,
your hard work.
Oh, yeah, of course. I love doing it.
All right. Is Mr. Mike back? Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
No, he's still talking to a visitor.
One of those pesky visitors. Just kidding. We love those
But
visitors.
we do. It's a good problem to have. We do have a lot of visitors as usual. Our main problem continues that Sundays there's not a whole lot for people to do. We have someone that's on the Main Street board that kind of does tours like on his own, which is really cool. And he had a tour on Sunday, and he said the only thing that was open besides us was Cowboy Jack's. So it's really sad, kind of pitiful, unfortunately. And
Hey,
there's not much.
Okay, just not last Sunday.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I agree with you. Like the brewery is a great thing, but we got to give people more to do other than eat and drink, you know? Otherwise, we're going to be called a different sort of capital. So it's just, I just always want to plant that in people's ears when you're thinking about having a business downtown or having a business in Nacogdoches in general. Just consider that we have a good amount of tourists come in on Sundays and Mondays, and often they leave disappointed, and I hate that.
And it's a great business opportunity to start a tour business. These people have disposable income and money, and they would pay to have somebody with an interest. Like if they could get a private tour from Barbara Stumpf, then oh my gosh, that would make their day. Or if they could do tours at Naca Valley, they would pay for those. It's that behind the scene experience that we're able to manage here. We have reapplied for our Junior Forum grant in terms of volunteerism. And so that's been turned in. It was due on the 15th, I think, of January. Got that turned in. So hopefully we'll be able to continue that great partnership. We've really been busy with foot traffic and on unexpected days. So we're really trying to build up this collaboration with pickleball and disc golf to sort of fill in that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday absence of things to do. So really hitting our natural assets a little harder. Mike is also planning a volunteer appreciation lunch, brunch, something. So that's in the works. And other than that, he's just being fabulous and training up new volunteers, and he's gotten some really, really good and reliable ones here lately. So that is probably.
He also had the great idea to get our lighting adjusted.
Oh, yeah.
The reason you can see my face right now is because the lighting is much better in our boardrooms.
Mike reached out to White Electric, who came in, and we have always had, since I've been here for 5 years, a hodgepodge of different tones of lighting. And White Electric came in and gave us all similar lighting. So it's the same color, the same hue, the same intensity. For the first time, again, honestly, it's either a really good thing or a really bad thing, but the Indian display in the corner of the lobby is now fully illuminated. And I every time it catches my eye because I'm not used to being able to see it. Oh, there's Mike. I'll let him tell his story.
We gave you a report, but
Oh, good for you.
About
Well,
lights.
Couple here that wants to move here. That happens almost daily. It's amazing. These were an older retired couple that were looking for a smaller home. Anyway, so what were you talking about?
the lighting.
Oh, the lighting. Yes. If next time you're downtown, we did an upgrade on the lighting in several of the rooms. It just makes all the difference in the world. We can actually see the Indians now, and they've been in the dark since I've been here. But it's really nice. And Ashley's told you about our new products that we have, our new book and our hoodies. December was a big visitor month, of course, not even counting the parade, but there were, after Christmas, the families were here, like 60 and 70 people during the weekday that were traveling, which was really neat. I don't remember that happening like that before, but everything's good so far. And Wanda, I could use some BRAC cards when you're in town sometime.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike.
Sure.
We're glad to have you on the front lines there at the visitor center for sure.
Thanks.
And I'm glad that the lighting is all, I mean, that also,
was a
that
big
affects your
success,
health too. Weird lighting is not
Yeah.
good.
Ashley did that. I didn't do it.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
Ashley, for that.
Didn't do anything.
For the lighting.
Oh.
Organized the lighting.
All right.
Oh.
So we, as you know, today we started our new time for our meeting, and we've been able to hold it right at an hour. Our next meeting would be the 21st of February at 2:00, given our sequencing of time. And I know Sherry has a special presentation scheduled for that, and we'll get to hear all the great things that are happening in Nacogdoches between now and then too. But I don't know if I need a motion to adjourn. Do I need one, Sherry? Or can we just adjourn? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn this meeting at 2:51 p.m.
I'll
Thank
second.
you, Miss Alex. I appreciate that. A second from anyone?
Damon second.
Okay, Damon. We are adjourned, and you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy this beautiful weather.